Yo, 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 yo. Welcome to another episode of the X Factor Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Mondain. We are in season 6, episode 5. Glad to have y'all in here tonight. We are on YouTube and Rumble every single Wednesday. Be sure to tap in, subscribe, like, and share. You can also follow us on all the social media platforms. You'll see the reels throughout the weekend. So be sure to like and share those and subscribe so you can get the full episodes every Wednesday night on YouTube and Rumble. You already know the audio platforms is popping, so you can catch us on those too. All right. We got a great show for y'all tonight, man. I don't know what else to tell you. We're going to talk about this Jake Paul, Mike Tyson thing. We're going to talk some football, heavy into college football now that the power rankings and the college football playoff is starting to shape up. We're getting closer to Thanksgiving, so things are getting real. And also things are getting real in the NFL, so we got to tap in on that too. So I'm glad y'all are tuned in tonight, man. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into what we need to get into, man. We're going to talk about this quick news. We're going to get into the layup lines and the intro of the show and the burning question from this weekend. We're going to get into all that stuff too. All right, so stay with us. So over the weekend, what we have happened. All right, so I went out to Dallas, went to see Miss D. You know, she's on a kind of extended trip, so I had to pop in midway through and say hi to the missus. Fellas, that's how you got to do it sometimes. You got to make sure you're kicking it with the missus, man. They love it. So over the weekend, though, I was in Dallas, and that Jake Paul Tyson fight was going on. And last minute, I realized that it was happening, but I'd already booked the trip. So I wasn't there for that thing, but I was down there over the weekend, and the airport was crazy. Everybody that was there on Friday night, I got there Friday night, crazy stuff going on. But anyway, that fight, congratulations to Mike Tyson for winning $20 million for not fighting Jake Paul. Let's call it that, because that's pretty much what it was. Y'all can go back and look at the clips. You'll see Tyson was pulling his punches. I just found out, or I just heard the other day that they took the uppercut. They put that in the contract, like he couldn't give Jake Paul that patented uppercut that he gave everybody, knocked so many people out with. So I just heard that. So you can see in the videos, y'all can go ahead and look, and you guys tell me what you see when you watch the videos from this fight. But congrats to Mike Tyson, 58 years old, got him a $20 million bag for an exhibition fight. I mean, hell, 20 years ago, he only made $17.5 million for fighting in a heavyweight title fight with Lennox Lewis. So fast forward now, he damn near 60 and got 20 million. So congrats to my man Mike for getting that bag. That's what happened. In the NBA, what did we learn from last week? We'll go Eastern Conference and Western Conference. So in the East, like most teams that try to repeat as champs, the Boston Celtics will get overlooked this season. Anytime they lose a game, it's the end of the world. And, you know, they might be a 2 seed. They played Cleveland yesterday. They might end up being a 2 seed at the end of the year. But a lot of NBA champions and repeat champions were 2 seeds when they won back-to-back. So you'll hear all that chatter, but the Celtics going to be good no matter what. Orlando is actually becoming a good team. So they not just Apollo Banchero and a bunch of guys like the Wagner boys, Jalen Suggs, Cole Anthony. Like, these dudes is actually playing ball. Like, they look good. And last year, people might have thought Jamal Mosley had them playing and it was a fluke, but they actually look like a legit team, especially with Paolo Banchero looking to be out for several weeks. And they playing tonight in LA, got the longest winning streak behind what Cleveland had going on. So I'm looking forward to seeing Orlando continue rolling this out without Paolo Banchero, and then he can just be inserted back in. He's going to be their all-star, and they can keep it rolling. So good on them. They're an actual good basketball team. What else do we see? Philly is all bad, and they're getting worse, all right? You got Tyrese Maxey calling out Embiid, saying this month late for everything, all the time, and it's just going to trickle down to the young guys. So I salute Tyrese Maxey for calling out Joel Embiid in front of the whole team. But this is how you know a team is bad. All right. They're already having team meetings 11 games into the season. All right. We ain't even out of November yet. This is the first month. And you already having team meetings. They're 2-11 or something like that. Like Paul George looking like, what the hell did I get myself into? I could have stayed in LA. So that thing is a mess. I think it's only getting worse. Joel Embiid's not healthy. He's not the guy. Everybody is expecting him to deliver a championship in Philly, but with his attitude, his style of play, his demeanor as a whole, his health, doesn't look like it's going to be good. So feel bad for Paul George. Hopefully Tyrese Maxey can tough it out. And then Milwaukee, they're bad, but they're actually improving. Dame Lillard hit the game winner the other day against Houston, who's actually a good team this year too. I'm going to talk about them a little bit. But it can breed some confidence, get something going. They are inching closer and closer to that 500 mark. I think they're 5-9 right now, won a couple games in a row. So they're getting better. We'll see where Milwaukee shakes out. They are the epitome of a experienced basketball team with veteran leadership on the court. And they know it's a long season, so they know they can continue to build. I don't think the sky is falling in Milwaukee. Again, I think Adrian Griffin was doing a good job, but, they did what they had to do. Now they got to live with it. And you always going to get a fight out of Giannis, right? Giannis is going to always play hard. He's going to fight to the bitter end because that's just the type of guy he is. So that's what we got in the East. In the West, like I just said, the Houston Rockets look good. And despite the loss to Dame Lillard and Milwaukee Bucks on that game-winning layup, they still look good. Now, I told y'all they're going to be a playoff team, or they could be. And I still believe they can. Like I said, it's still the first month of the season. But these dudes look good. So shout out to them. Shout out to Ime Udoka. Got this young team balling. They are second in opponents' points per game in the West. And they're third in point differential. So the defense is being preached to a young team. And that's the biggest thing. When you have a young team, is to get them to buy in on the defensive end. Ime Udoka has got a year under his belt with this group, and he's got them buying in on the defensive end. I think that's showing and paying off right now. And then what else we got in the West? KD should be the early season MVP. And the reason I'm saying that is because the Suns are in a damn tailspin since this dude got hurt, 35 years old, and they got to depend on him. They were 8-1 when KD was playing, and they are 1-5 without him. So he's clearly the most valuable guy on that team. And hopefully they can get it turned around. Hopefully KD can get back soon. But older guys that get hurt take longer to get back. So Bradley Beal and Devin Booker better step it up because it's going to be a long season if they don't have KD healthy. And then last but not least in the NBA on the West side, the Lakers. The Lakers are in an upward trend, and they will continue to be up and down all year. So Lakers fans I call them the basketball version of Cowboys fans. So they're going to be excited because the Lakers are doing good now, and they're going to have all their memes and tweets, Lake Show, blah, blah, blah. To me, it just sounds like we them boys. They all sound the same. But they're going to be up and down, and here's why. When a 40-year-old is your best player and you have no bench, you're going to have ebbs and flows in the season because LeBron James can't carry you on a nightly basis at a high level, and they have to depend so much on him to win games. So there's going to be times where they don't look good. But then there's going to be times where he's feeling good, AD's looking good, and they're going to play well. So, and they got a rookie coach. Despite all of the things JJ Redick knows about basketball, he is yet and still a rookie coach with a bad bench. They're relying heavily on Dalton Knecht as a rookie to play right away and play winning basketball. So it's going to be some inconsistencies. I mean, over the course of 82 games, that happens with teams with bad benches, and also compound that with relying on an older player. So that's all we'll see about that. You don't expect great things from the Lakers. You expect great moments. All right, so in the NFL, what did we learn from last week, week 11 in NFL? This season is starting to shape up. We talked about it in the Halloween episode. You know, these ghosts and these goblins, we starting to see who the real monsters are and who the teams are that are fading away, right? So one of the teams that we talked about that's shaping out to be one of these monsters is the Philadelphia Eagles. They look like a real championship contender. Saquon Barkley has inserted himself in the MVP conversation. I don't care what anybody says. He's looking like an MVP right now. The Eagles are 8-2. Saquon is first in carries. He's second in rushing yards. And he's got over 1,300 scrimmage yards in 10 games. And they 8-2. The defense is getting better. It looks like they're starting to figure out. Everybody was writing them off at the beginning of the year and forgetting that they had two new coordinators on offense and defense. Again, Jalen Hurts is dealing with another new offensive coordinator. And it took a while for them to figure it out, and they're starting to get right at the right time. Right around Thanksgiving is when you want to start rounding into shape. And the Eagles look like one of the best teams in the league over the last month. Also, looking like one of the best teams in the league, the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills look like a legit Super Bowl contender in the AFC. Everybody was talking about who is going to challenge the Chiefs because the Ravens and Lamar Jackson hasn't had any big playoff games, so nobody's scared of him. And Pittsburgh is good, but how good can they be in the playoffs? So we didn't know who could challenge the Chiefs in the AFC. The Bills can not only challenge the Chiefs, but can probably beat them. And that game was so huge on Sunday because if it gets to a tiebreaker, the Bills have an opportunity to be a 1 seed and have the AFC come through Orchard Park again. And hopefully this time they're ready for the challenge because the Chiefs have that championship pedigree, so they're going to be ready as always. But same old story. The Bills win in the regular season. We all want to see what that matchup looks like in the playoffs. But the Bills look like Super Bowl contenders, and here's why. In this instance, less is more. All right. They let Gabe Davis go to Jacksonville, and he barely playing, if he's playing at all in Jacksonville. And then Stephon Diggs, they let him go. That was a huge decision, but I think from a fit standpoint, locker room standpoint, they felt it was the best decision to let him go to Houston, and it seems to be working out. Josh Allen is another MVP candidate. Had a great game on Sunday, closed the show out with a rushing touchdown, and the Bills having a good O-line and a good defensive line. I think this is the best units that I would say these are the best units that Josh Allen has had since he's been in Buffalo, meaning the offensive line and the defensive line. And everybody knows championships are won at the line of scrimmage. And this is the best iteration of their O-line and D-line that he's had. So I think they're Super Bowl contenders. And then the Steelers. The Steelers are proven to be a team that can win big games. That was a big game against the Ravens at home in a division opponent. And they got if you'd have told me coming in November, coming to week 12, that the Pittsburgh Steelers would be the number 1 team in the AFC North, I'd have laughed at you, especially bringing in Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Shout out to Mike Tomlin, that team, they figure it out. Like I've been telling y'all on all these episodes, death, taxes, and Mike Tomlin winning football games. It's just inevitable. He figures it out. Maybe he has Lamar Jackson and the Ravens number. Derrick Henry didn't seem to matter, but the Steelers look like they are a real team, a real playoff team that could win a playoff game because they can play in big spots. So they're passing all the tests. You got to give them props. All right. So that's what we got for that quick news, right? So let's get into it. When we talk about this fight over the weekend with Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, all right, is Jake Paul, is he bad for boxing? Is he ruining boxing? What do y'all think? Do y'all think Jake Paul is bad for boxing? I'm going to give y'all my take on what I think it is, but we're going to get into the details of what happened on Friday night, right? So he had this big event on Friday, Netflix streams it. Okay. So over the weekend they fight. It's an 8-round exhibition. Netflix was kind of funny style. I'm sure y'all been seeing on social media how the streaming wasn't really working that well. People had jokes. People were getting frustrated about it. But it was still an event. And that's what boxing is and what it used to be. That's what I grew up watching. Boxing was an event. You knew what you was doing Saturday night. Either you going to your boy house who ended up getting the fight on pay-per-view, you going to watch it around a bunch of people at a house, or you going to a bar to watch it. So it was an event for sure, right? And a sold-out Cowboy Stadium in Arlington, and the fight was seen by 108 million viewers around the world. Okay? The most streamed global sporting event ever. So when you ask me when I ask you if Jake Paul is bad for boxing, I'm going to say no. Because if you look at the numbers, what he's doing for boxing, even though it's at an exhibition level, what he's doing for boxing in terms of viewership, as far as social media engagement, as far as the money, like I told you, Mike Tyson got 20 million for fighting him. He ended up getting 40 million, right? So when you ask me if he's bad for boxing, I'm going to say hell no, because he's bringing eyes to the sport. He's bringing, whether good or bad, whether you want him to lose or win, 108 million people are coming to see the fight. So the revenue he's generating in the sport and the way he's doing it outside of the WBC, the WBA, the IBF, out of all of these federations, he's doing it in his own lane, bringing eyes to the sport and bringing, even though it's older stars to the sport, he's bringing them out and he's bringing people to view it. So, of course, you're going to have the negative side of it. You got your boxing purists, your old school boxers, your fight fans. A lot of them are not going to like what's going on or don't like it. And then also you got your current fighters that are fighting now that probably don't like what's going on. I think each tier of boxing enthusiasts dislike Jake Paul taking this route for different reasons, right? I think the boxing purists and the old school guys, the Teddy Atlases of the world, right, don't like it because it's taken away the purest form. Jake Paul didn't get it out the mud. He didn't start from the old boxing gym. He didn't work his way up in the ranks. He didn't fight everybody and get a record and, lose fights and do it the old school way, right? When we used to go look at fights, we wanted to see the guy that came from nothing and become a champion. And two gladiators in the ring fighting. We wanted to see blood spill. We wanted to see who was going to come out victorious, who's getting knocked out, right? We wanted to see that gladiator in the ring. So I think that's why the older generation doesn't like it. But then the younger guys don't like it for a different reason, because of the money it's generating. He's generating so much damn money, it's crazy. So think about this. Canelo Alvarez has been a champion since 2011. Right? And in his last fight, he made $35 million. Jake Paul just made $40 million fighting Mike Tyson on Netflix in an exhibition fight. So the money he's generating, that's why I think this younger generation is getting mad. I mean, Canelo Alvarez has been a champion for over 15 years and he can't get a $40 million purse. Right? Crazy. He's making more than all these other fighters. I bet promoters are looking at him sideways. You got younger fighters looking at they promoters sideways. Like, look at what he doing. Why we not taking this route? Right? So Jake Paul is just simply taking the Floyd Mayweather route. And what I mean by that is he is taking the villain role, the adversarial role, where half of the people hate him and want him to lose, and the other half enjoy it and follow him on social media and they want to see him win. Whether you're on whichever side of the fence you're on, everybody's coming to watch it. And that's the route he took. He just took it outside of the federations. And he's making more money. And he doesn't need to pay his promoter. And he doesn't need to split it with who he can make the purse however he wants to make it. So the way he's generating the revenue is changing the game. And so that's why I don't think he's bad for the boxing. All right. So all these fighters, they need to take notes. They need to see what Jake Paul's doing and how he's doing it. All right. Another example, Bud Crawford. Bud Crawford made $10 million when he fought Errol Spence. Bud Crawford been beating people ass for 12, 13, 14 years. And he made $10 million because he doesn't have the draw. People aren't trying to see Bud Crawford. Only your boxing enthusiasts or your boxing fans, myself, want to see Bud Crawford fight. But Jake Paul has everybody wanting to see him fight, right? Even the people that are pure to boxing want to see him get beat up, but they're watching the fight. So he's winning in the end. The name of the game is bringing eyes to your sport. And he's doing that more than these real boxers right now, right? Real boxers. So for Jake Paul to get damn near a 60-year-old Mike Tyson, $20 million, and Bud Crawford is only getting $10 million in an exhibition fight for Mike Tyson, and y'all think Jake Paul is bad for boxing, I think he's changing the sport of boxing. Now I'm going to end it with this, just so y'all can understand the volume in which he's operating. Okay. He has, I think he has like over 100 million, or he has over 20 million subscribers on YouTube. And he's had over 7 billion with a B, 7.7 billion viewers on his YouTube channel. Think about that. That's almost every man, woman, and child on this planet has viewed Jake Paul's channel. 7.7 billion views. 20 million subscribers. That's how you can bring eyes to what you're doing. That's how you break records on Netflix. That's how you crash Netflix, right? He's built up a following, whether you love it or hate it, but he's changing the sport. He's changing sports as a whole, as an individual. Think about that. Think about if Canelo had social media and had people in his corner, figuratively and literally, helping him out with his social media. He's got subscribers. Everybody is clean on everything he's doing. 7.7 billion viewers is looked up Jake Paul. That's how you get $40 million for an exhibition fight. So again, y'all think Jake Paul is bad for boxing? I think he's changing the game. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Is he bad for boxing or not? Is he good for business? Business and boxing are synonymous. It's been around for years. He has slid past the Don Kings of the world and doing his thing. So y'all let me know what y'all think, if it's good for boxing or not. All right. Again, always subscribe to the X Factor Sports Podcast. We are on YouTube and Rumble. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. All the platforms we're on for social media, and also all of the platforms. If you want to listen to the X Factor Sports Podcast, you can check us out there too. Okay? All right. Now let's move on. So we're going to get into y'all favorite segment. We don't do it as often as we used to. We kind of save it for when we got a good week. But we are going to get into that segment that y'all love the most, and it's that Bet That segment. All right, we're going to do a 5-game parlay, and we're going to do college football this week, okay? So I'm going to let y'all know what I think about these games. So we picked 5 games. I really make these bets. So I'm not a bookie. I'm not a betting expert, but these are games that I see, and I'll tell you why I think these bets are going to go the way they go. So take the advice and have some fun with it, all right? So this week with the 5-leg parlay in college, all right, we got number 5 Indiana Hoosiers. I'm not talking basketball, this football. But Indiana is undefeated, 10-0 at number 5 against number 2 Ohio State. Ohio State is 13.5-point favorites, but I'm actually taking Indiana to cover this spread. All right, I know y'all thinking, how the hell they gonna go into the horseshoe and cover this spread? So I know they haven't played anybody to the expert's eye, right? But college football is college football. You got to win the games that's in front of you. Yes, they've had a favorable schedule. Yes, Ohio State is going to be the toughest team they play. But I think that's the reason why they will cover this spread. I think they're going to be motivated They're hearing all the negativity about they ain't played nobody. They don't deserve to be number 5. They don't deserve to be in the college football playoff. I think they come and make a statement at the Horseshoe. Now, I'm not saying they're going to win the game, but they are going to compete. It's a conference game, divisional game. You got to take those games serious. I think that they play well. If you look at how they played against Nebraska versus how Ohio State played against Nebraska, Indiana beat the hell out of them. So they can play. Don't get it twisted. So I think Indiana covers this 13.5. They go into the Horseshoe, and I got the Hoosiers covering. The biggest game of these guys' careers on Saturday, probably even the biggest game of the coaches' careers. And I think they show up. All right. The next one, we got number 9, Ole Miss, going into the Swamp in Florida. And I got Ole Miss straight up. I didn't take any spreads. They are coming off a huge win against Georgia 2 weeks ago and off a bye week. So they coming in, everybody patting them on the back, telling them how great they are. Y'all ranked in the top 10 now. There could be some slippage. So I think they get off to a rough start, but I think they overcome it in the end and win the game. That's why I'm taking them just straight up in the money line. I think they struggle early and then kick it into gear. I think Lane Kiffin comes out in the second half. So I got Ole Miss winning the game, but I got it straight up going up against Florida. If this was a night game in the Swamp, I'd probably take Florida to cover the spread instead of just getting beat outright. But I'm going with Ole Miss, the money line. The third game, we got Colorado, number 16 Colorado, coming to Kansas. It's actually a neutral site game. They playing at Arrowhead. Colorado 2.5-point favorites. I'm going to take Colorado to cover this spread for sure. I think they win by more than 2.5. I think they win by more than a field goal. Colorado, they're 2-0 this season as away favorites. And if you're talking about against the spread plus minus, they are plus 15.5. So what that tells me is on the road as favorites, Colorado's covering the spread, and they're covering the spread by a lot. So I'm going ahead with them with that point differential, and they're 4-0 on the road when they are favored. So got to take Colorado. This isn't necessarily a road game per se because they're playing in Arrowhead. It's actually more like a neutral site, but I got them winning that game in Arrowhead, and I got them covering the spread for sure. All right, Buffaloes have gotten better at the line of scrimmage. That's why they look better than they did last year on both sides, particularly on the defensive side. That may be a shout out to Warren Sapp being on that coaching staff, but they're better this year and their record shows it. And it shows in games when they need to get stops and when they need to step up in the second half, they step their game up. So Colorado Buffaloes might be your Big 12 champs. Never know. We'll see. All right. Fourth game we got on the docket for Bet That is number 19 Army against the number 6 Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I think this is going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a really good game. A team that's undefeated and a team with one loss, 10-0 and 9-1, I believe. And it's a 14.5-point spread. So the wise guys, they like Notre Dame a lot. I'm going to go against the grain. I got Army covering. I know y'all saying Army, they like Indiana. They ain't played nobody. Why you got them covering? I just feel like teams that know they have a big game look forward to it. Even though it's on the road, I think they come to play. And there's also some stats to back up why I think Army is going to cover this game. All right. They are number 1 in the country in rushing, over 330 yards per game. All right. So they ground and pound. They are number 2 in points against. So they only give up 10 points a game. And the running back, Bryson Daly, has 21 touchdowns this season. So defense and running the ball. That's why they beat teams. That's why they undefeated. It's a step up in class, so I won't disrespect Notre Dame. They're also good too. They are number 3 in points allowed. They only give up 11 points. So the logic behind it is, how the hell is Notre Dame going to win this game by 15 or 14 points when you play against the number 1 defense in college or the number 2 defense in college and you the number 3 defense in college? Both these teams only give up 10, 11 points a game. I don't think the game I don't think the score will be indicative enough to even win by 14 points. So that's why I got Army covering, right? I don't think they'll score enough points for it to be a 14-point win. So I got Army covering. All right. Then the last game, we got Alabama, number 7 Alabama, 13.5-point favorites, going to Oklahoma. I actually have Alabama covering this spread. It's like a big number, but I think Alabama covers. Mainly because Alabama is good, getting better. They realize Jalen Milroe's that guy. He's putting himself in a Heisman conversation. But Oklahoma stinks. Let's just call it what it is, man. Oklahoma's not good this year. As a home underdog, Oklahoma is 0-2 against the spread, and they're against the spread plus minus is minus 15. So what does that tell me? They can't cover the spread. They're bad at home. They lose against the spread every time they're underdogs. So I got them getting beat. I got Alabama covering the 13.5. Oklahoma is 94th in points for and 40th in points against. They stink. All right. They give up way too many points. They don't score enough. I think give me the Tide rolling. 13.5, they cover. So that's what we got for Bet That. Be sure to place your bets before Saturday at noon so you can get all these games in and win this parlay. I actually won a nice little 7-leg parlay in NFL last week. The Chargers scared the hell out of me, but it ended up working out. I'm going to place this bet too. So I got Indiana covering the 13.5. I got Ole Miss on the money line, winning that outright. Give me Colorado with 2 in the hook. Of course, Colorado's going to cover that spread in the neutral site. Then we got Army. I got Army covering this 14.5. It's just 2 good defensive teams. I don't think they score enough points for the spread to be that. So I got Army covering just off the strength of the defenses. 13 in the hook. I'm taking Alabama to cover this spread as well. Playing against a sorry Oklahoma team who can't cover to save their life, with Alabama trying to get in this college football playoff. And I think they keep rolling. So go ahead and place them bets. Let me know what you think. If you like what I just put together with this Bet That segment, and you can like, share, and subscribe and comment. If you think I'm wrong, let me know. If you think I'm right, go ahead and place those bets. All right, cool. So let's switch gears. All right, we're going to go back to where we were. So we out of the boxing segment and the Bet That, we're going to get into these X factors in the NFL. That's right. So we're going to touch on what happened last week, see if we were right, if we were wrong, how our X factors from last week stacked up, and then we get into the Week 12 X factors for NFL Week 12. All right? So the X factors that we had from Week 11. Let's do a recap to see how we did. We had the Commanders at Philly on Thursday night, right? We had Devontae Smith getting 6 catches, 90 yards, and a TD. We didn't do that great. We were wrong on that. Hell, nobody caught 6 passes for the Eagles on Thursday. So Saquon was obviously the man, but I wanted to go with Devontae Smith. Didn't really work out. In the next game, we had Ravens and Steelers on Sunday, the noon game. We saw that. That was a big game. I had Derrick Henry getting 2 TDs. He only had 1 TD and 65 yards. So maybe the Steelers got their number, like I told y'all in the layup lines. The third game was the late game Sunday. It was Chiefs at Bills. We talked about Josh Allen, and we hit that almost perfectly. All right. We said Josh Allen, 250 passing yards and 3 total touchdowns. He threw for 362 and had 2 total touchdowns, and he had the game-winning rushing TD. So I feel like we got that right. All right, almost on the nose. Then that night game, I told y'all, scared the hell out of me with my parlay. Bengals and Chargers game. We picked the Chargers defense. Now, it started out great in the first half. All right, defense looked pretty good. The defense in the first half held the Bengals to 2 field goals and 3 punts. So we were looking good. Didn't get any turnovers. Then the second half, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins turned into a monster, figured it out, and started rolling in the second half. came all the way back. Offense couldn't put up no points for the Chargers. The Bengals did miss 2 field goals and had a 3 and out in the fourth quarter. So I guess the defense kind of won it in the end. I'll say we were 50-50 on that one. Then the last one, we hit this one out the park. All right. We talked about Texans at Cowboys. Texans getting their head beat in the week before. They was going to come back mad. They took it out on the Cowboys. And Joe Mixon, we said the best way to bully a team is to push them around on the ground. I had Joe Mixon getting 2 touchdowns and 100 total yards. And guess what he did? He had 155 total yards and 3 touchdowns. All right. The Texans rushed as a team over 140 yards rushing. So I'd say we hit that one perfectly on the head. Joe Mixon had a monster game. I'm glad I got him in 2 fantasy leagues. Helped me win a game that I didn't think I was going to win. So shout out to Joe. All right. But now to week 12. So what do we have this week? Will we get them right? All right. This week, like we always do with the X Factors, we do the primetime games. Then we pick a good Sunday noon game and a good Sunday afternoon, late afternoon game. All right. So tomorrow, you get Steelers at Browns, a divisional game. I think with all that's going on with the Browns, that defense is suffering. All right. That defense is bottom 10 in the league now in most categories. Not what they used to be. I don't know if Myles Garrett is ready to throw in the towel or not. But I got George Pickens in this game. I think the offense wakes up. They had a grueling game last week against the Ravens. It was a Boswell game. I think this offense opens up. I think the moon ball comes back. And I think they pick it up. So I got George Pickens, 5 catches, 93 yards, and a TD. So if you got him in fantasy football, you might get about 17, 18 points, depending on how your league does PPR or not. But I got George Pickens having a good game. He'll be the X factor. In the Sunday noon game, not a lot of good noon games. So I just went with Bears-Vikings. It's a divisional game. When they fired Shane Waldron, I looked at the schedule. I said, how many of these games can we win? And I circled this game in particular, this Vikings-Bears game, as a game that the Bears can win. It's in Chicago. We play well at home. We almost won last week. Blocked field goal. I think they should have ran another play to get a closer field goal, but I digress. But in this game, I think DeAndre Swift, the running back for the Bears, will be the X factor. All right. The 2 games that the Minnesota Vikings lost, they gave up over 100 yards on the ground. So I think the Bears follow that formula. I think they do some good things with DeAndre Swift. He can catch the ball in the backfield. He gets all the in-between yards that they need and intermediate downs. So I'm going with him. Caleb liked that they tried to start out with these quick hitters last week. I think they get DeAndre Swift involved a lot more. Maybe Roshan Johnson gets it in the red zone, but I think Swift gets some big plays, and I think he's the X factor this week. I see 100 total yards of offense from Swift and a TD. In the late game, we actually do have a good one. 49ers come to Green Bay. All right. Green Bay's been wanting their get back from the 49ers for years. Playoff games, regular season games, just getting beat up in home games when they had Aaron Rodgers at QB. I think they want some get back. So I'm going to pick the young boy, a surprise one. I'm going to go with Jaden Reed. He's from Chicago, from the crib, Michigan State alum. Shout out to him. I know some of his kinfolk. So I'm going to go with Jaden Reed as the X factor in this game. All right. Niners are hurt everywhere. I don't even know if Brock Purdy's playing. He's questionable. Trent Williams, all these dudes questionable on the offensive side. George Kittle. The Packers been tortured by the 49ers over the years, and I think they finally get some get back. I think the young boy has an explosive play, about 4 catches, a touchdown, but I think he has an explosive play in this game. So I think Jaden Reed is your X factor. All right. In the Sunday night game, Eagles and Rams. This game has a lot of indication. I know y'all looking at the Rams record and saying, what is he talking about? This don't have no indication. What this does, the Eagles get a nice little stranglehold on their division, and the Rams can either turn the corner off a nice win against New England last week and try to catch Arizona, or they fall back behind Arizona and Arizona takes another step in their division. So this is a huge game from a division standpoint, right? The Eagles can kind of take off and take a firm lead in the NFC East, and this is make or break for the Rams. So in this game, the X factor I have is actually the Eagles defense. I kind of touched on it earlier in the layup lines. Vic Fangio, they're figuring it out and they're getting healthy. This defense has looked good over the last month, one of the top defenses in the league. And the Rams O-line is banged up. They got different starters every week. I don't know who the hell is playing this upcoming week. So we'll see what happens with them. But I got this defensive line. I think Vic Fangio's got something going, and going up against a beat-up O-line, I see the defense having a great game. Eagles get at least 3 sacks and a turnover. So they might need to go get Andrew Whitworth out the booth from Thursday Night Football to play in this game with the Rams, because they might be in trouble. And then in the last game, we got Monday Night Football, Ravens at Chargers. Another game with big indication for playoffs, right? Same thing we talked about with Eagles and the Rams. The same indications are here with the Ravens and Chargers. Why? The Chargers, with the Chiefs losing the game, the Chargers have a chance to kind of move up in the division, but also move up in the playoff standings in the AFC as a totality, right? The Ravens, you lose this game, the Chargers jump you in the playoff standings. So this is a huge game in your division and a huge game for playoff implications. Who's getting that 6 seed? Who's getting that 7 seed? It may come down to this game. In these games, though, Lamar Jackson tends to shine. I don't see Lamar Jackson. You can't tell me the last time Lamar Jackson had 2 bad games in a row. So I got Lamar Jackson as the X factor. He's pissed off about last week. He knows how important this week's game is. It's the Harbaugh Bowl. You got Jim Harbaugh, John Harbaugh. The last time they played against each other was in the Super Bowl when Jim Harbaugh was the coach of the Niners, when he had Colin Kaepernick. So this is going to be an exciting game. I'm glad they got it on primetime Monday night. But I just think Lamar Jackson, when you scout for Lamar and he's not in your division, you don't see him as often as Pittsburgh or Cleveland or Cincinnati. He's different. It's different when you got to play against him and you don't see him a lot. It's different when you see Derrick Henry and you don't see him a lot. So even though the Chargers have a great defense, I think Lamar Jackson's the X factor, just simply off the strength of he doesn't have 2 bad games in a row and they pissed off. So I see 3 total touchdowns and over 250 yards passing. I think they see something that Joe Burrow and the Bengals saw in that game last week. Again, you don't see Jamar Chase all the time. You don't see T. Higgins a lot. You can scout him, but when you got to see him in real time, it's different. And I think the same thing applies when it comes to Lamar Jackson. So that's what I got for my X factors this week. All right, I'll run them down again. Starting with Thursday night, tomorrow night, I got George Pickens having a big game against the Browns. In the Sunday early game, I got DeAndre Swift, running back for the Bears, having a good game against the Vikings. That's got to be the recipe to win. 100 yards on the ground, you got a chance to beat the Vikes. So I think the Bears go that route. Packers, Niners in the late game, I got the young boy. I'm going with Jaden Reed for the Packers to have an explosive play in the TD. Eagles defense on Sunday Night Football. I think this defense is coming together at the right time. And I think they show out against the Rams, who has a banged up offensive line. And then the Harbaugh Bowl, I got Lamar Jackson showing out. So y'all make y'all picks. Hopefully y'all got these guys on your fantasy football team. Hopefully they can make some big things happen for y'all. And we getting closer and closer to fantasy football playoffs. So I know how big these games are. So hopefully some of these X factors will do something for y'all in these games. All right, cool. So we got through all that. Appreciate y'all for tuning in to the X Factor Sports Podcast on YouTube and Rumble every Wednesday night. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Follow on all the social media platforms. Check out the audio on all the audio platforms too. All right. Before we get up out of here, though, we got to hit y'all with that 2-minute warning. Okay. And before we leave, we're going to talk about inspiration. Who's your inspiration? What your inspiration is? What does it look like? Do you surround yourself with inspiration. All right. What are some things that inspire you? What are people that inspire you? So start moving towards those things, right? Think about the things that inspire you, things that make you get up in the morning and want to go do these things. Or the people that you see that are doing big things, that have things going on, movers and shakers, whatever you want to call them, like people that are doing things that are inspirational. You know, Miss D, she's my inspiration, right? She's younger than me, but she's such a hard worker. She has been through struggles in and out of work, relationships, and she just perseveres. She's tough and she's a go-getter. Like if she tells you she wants something, she aspires to do something, she just goes and does it. And so I wanted to take this 2-minute warning to talk about Miss D. She has always been my inspiration since we met. I mean, she's always been one of the youngest to do something in her field, in her industry. And now she's just a rising star. And I couldn't be more proud of her than I am now. And so I surround myself around her. I pick her brain about things. You know, don't worry about if your inspiration is younger than you or they look different than you. You know, show a little bit of humility in yourself and ask questions. What is inspiring them? What's pushing these people to push forward? Where does it come from? Those are the things I like to do. Those are the people I like to surround myself with. I just use Miss D as my example because I live with it. But yeah, get inspired. Surround yourself with inspirational people. Surround yourself with inspirational things. And a year from now, 6 months from now, look back and see where it takes you. All right. Appreciate y'all for tuning in tonight. This is Jay Mondain of the X Factor Sports Podcast. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe as always. Check out the show. I hope y'all tuned in and liked it a lot. And if you want some of this X Factor apparel, you can always scan the QR codes. You can always hit me up on social media, hit me up on DM, whatever it is. Scan the QR code and go to the X Factor Sports store and get apparel, hats, shirts, sizes. We got all colors. Also, last but not least, the X Factor Sports Podcast Season 6 finale is January 8th. It will be live at Bogey's Windy City Pub in Leawood. I posted it on social media. Make sure you RSVP. The seats fill up quick. We had a great crowd in Season 4. I'm expecting an even bigger crowd in Season 6 because we're promoting it sooner than we did before. So be sure to get your seat, RSVP. We will have shirts there live. We will also have sweatshirts and hoodies. If you're interested in getting a sweatshirt or a hoodie, make sure you hit me up, give me your sizes so you can have them pre-ordered. We might not have your size there in person, but if you pre-order, we can have it for you. January 8th, Bogey's Windy City Pub, the Season 6 finale of the X Factor Sports Podcast. Again, this is Jay Mondain signing out. I appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. Next week, episode 6 on Season 6, we're going to have some mean stuff for y'all. So I hope y'all tune in. This is Jay Mondain of the X Factor Sports Podcast signing out. Peace.